So I was talking to a client recently who was asking me what the heck the numbers on Training Peaks mean. What is TSS? What is fitness, form, fatigue, and all of these things? And he's a former CFO, Chief Financial Officer. So I decided I'm going to put together a video that explains exactly what these terms mean in financial terms so that maybe you can understand them. If you have a bank account and you have money coming in and money going out, I hope that this helps put things into perspective for exactly what training terms that we use in the cycling industry mean. So my name is Ely. I'm a strength coach for cyclists. Let's dive in. So let's keep it real simple. Imagine that you have a bank account. Every time you put a deposit in, you are obviously increasing the money in that bank account. Every time you make a withdrawal, you are decreasing the money in the bank account. You can use money for different purposes, right? You can use money to withdraw and just spend on a expensive watch, or you can use money to actually bring a return on your investment. So in this illustration, TSS, or training stress score, is like a deposit. It's like putting an investment into an account. Essentially what training stress score is imagine every workout that you do, it brings forth a certain stress on your body. Whether you're going for a 3-hour ride or whether you're doing a 30-minute ride. Whether you're going all out or whether you're going for a recovery ride. Every single training that you do has a training stress score assigned to it. And that is a deposit into that account. A long or hard ride is like putting a bigger deposit, and a short recovery ride is like putting a smaller deposit. So in business terms, imagine you are allocating some resources, time and money and energy and calories, into this account, into your body, to generate future gains, a return on your investment. So that's TSS. Again, every workout has a specific TSS assigned to it. After TSS, you get this number, that big blue number right there. That is your fitness. Think of your fitness like equity. When you invest wisely, your assets appreciate over time. If you go and buy a house right now, in a year or so, that house will hopefully increase. It'll have equity. And over the weeks and months, the same thing happens with your fitness. The more you keep investing, the more you're going to gain fitness, which will appreciate over time. So high fitness essentially means that you have a strong asset base in your bank account. You can handle larger expenses and compete in harder training and do larger events and stuff like that without depleting your reserves. You always know you have something. Lower fitness, on the other hand, would mean that the same kind of, let's say, a 3-hour ride would probably hit you a lot harder. Now, training stress is what it sounds like. Stress is a negative in a way, but it's a necessary negative. Thus, every time you do a workout and you have training stress, you accumulate what we call fatigue. Fatigue is that pink number right there. So if fitness is the long-term adaptation to your training, it's the long-term equity that you have. Fatigue is the short-term. Fatigue is your liabilities. It's that like short-term debt that you experience. Imagine you have credit card debt. You borrowed against your energy reserves, and now you owe it back in rest and recovery. Now, this is a necessary thing. You cannot improve in fitness without accumulating fatigue. That fatigue is necessary, and you need to accumulate it in order to keep improving. Similar to, if we're taking that credit card analogy, similar to using your credit card to pay ad spend, and that ad brings a return on investment, then you can put it into the account. Now, if you accumulate too much debt and you don't pay it down, your liability grows and interest comes in as well in the form of diminished returns and increased susceptibility to sickness and injury and etc. And your body risks burnout. And then finally, you have this number here, that number over here, which is your form. So think of form like equity minus liabilities. It is how ready you are on a given day. So imagine you have a lot of assets and you have few liabilities. That means you have a positive net worth. That means you are able to do big projects and big things without actually having to worry about it. You can do things confidently. You can invest confidently. If you take that same illustration, if you have a high fitness but low fatigue, and that doesn't happen accidentally. High fitness but low fatigue, that means you can take on bigger events and trainings and races and whatever you want more confidently. If you have a really high fatigue, even if you have fitness but your fatigue is way too high, then no matter how much capital you've built, no matter how much equity and assets you have, your debt is higher. And you cannot afford to spend it because debt is eating up most of your capital. So form actually predicts how well you're going to perform in your next training, in your next race, in your next event, whatever it is. So every training that you do delivers training stress score. That training stress should deliver a return on your investment. It'll give you short-term, it's like taking short-term debt for long-term asset creation, for long-term return on investment. But that's where it's necessary to pay the fatigue down. And you do that through rest and recovery. There's no other way to pay your fatigue. You cannot pay off your credit card bills without depositing money towards your credit card and paying it off. The same way you have to take rest and recovery in order to reduce that fatigue and actually be able to see your assets and express your assets of fitness more efficiently. So if you push too hard and you don't take that recovery, that is absolutely necessary for your body. Like you're doing back to back to back to back big days, logging huge TSS scores, which yes, it's a good thing because it's like you're putting deposits in that bank account. But to put those deposits, you are taking out short-term withdrawals. If you're taking out withdrawing, you're not actually realizing the return on your investment, and you end up making withdrawals that you can't cover. And that forces you to dip into your reserves. And if you do not take that recovery, your assets will actually erode over time. You end up burning out. You end up not performing as well. So that's where we want to balance the spreadsheet here. If you have too much debt, aka too much fatigue, too much liabilities, and it's growing faster than your assets, then your net worth plummets, your form plummets. And that's where you risk injury, you risk illness, because you can't cover the debt. Now, on the other side of this, if you've underinvested, you have too little credit, you always train easy, you avoid doing any hard rides, you avoid really doing any real work, then you're basically avoiding making any substantial investments into your account. And if you're not actually investing into that account, you don't really have any assets to compete with. You don't have anything to invest with. And you've left money on the table by being too conservative in a way. And then finally, I guess the last thing you can look here is kind of like inflation or diminishing returns. The more fitness you build, then the harder it is to build fitness. So for example, 100 TSS, when you are an absolute beginner, will bring you a lot more fitness than 100 TSS will when you're like a pro and you have a lot of fitness already. At that point, and it's the same with the gym, it's the same in fitness, you have to invest disproportionately for smaller increments of improvement. So to put this all together, TSS is like putting deposits or investments into your training account. Fitness is the assets that you have or the equity you have in that account that you're building over time, long-term adaptations to your training. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that we want. You're feeling stronger. Your heart rate is lower for the same efforts. You're able to produce more power. You're able to hold that power for longer. That's the good stuff from our training. The solid, fun adaptations, if you will. Fatigue is the debt, the short-term debt that you accumulate. It's the higher resting heart rate, the higher blood pressure, the lower force generating capacity. It's all of these things that are immediate. It's that short-term credit card debt, if you will. And then form is your net worth, aka your assets minus your liabilities. And that tells us as coaches or you as athletes how ready you are, how fresh you are, and able to perform. So when you understand it this way, you understand that we're always trying to maximize the cash flow in a way. Obviously, you want to put more into your assets, you want to limit the liabilities, but to do that, the only way to limit your liabilities is to take that recovery, to take that rest, and allow your body to super compensate from its training. The way to maximize return on investment is to choose the right workouts, to be intentional with what you're doing, to pace your deposits, to train with leverage, to do the 20% of work that brings forth 80% of results. And that's exactly what we do here with Ride with Purpose. We give athletes the leveraged training protocol. Meaning we give them the exact 20% of training that they need that will bring forth 80% of results so that they can do the minimum effective dose, not overextending themselves, not incurring too much debt in order to improve. Because the reality is you don't need 15-hour training weeks in order to improve on the bike if you know what you're doing and if you know how to do it. So this month we're taking 3 athletes into Ride with Purpose. If you're interested, you can click down below in the description. There is a wait list for the program and we'll reach out to you as soon as possible. And as always, my friends, catch you next time. Ciao.